The SHEILA ZILINSKY Show, the only show to give you the truth behind the headlines, prophecy, and the deeper things of God. Now, here is your host, SHEILA ZILINSKY.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Tuesday Newsday with SHEILA ZILINSKY. I broadcast weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time right here on WINB, and a shout out to all those tuning in over there at WINB. And of course, for those of you listening on MixLR, a shout out to you today. Hey, if you sign up at MixLR, we have a chat there. You can even meet great people, and I'm hoping to connect some people through that chat. Go to the listen page at weekendvigilante.com and you will see ways to listen. MixLR is the live show every day. You can click on that and join in the chat. And of course, you can also listen in on our apps for smart devices. That is a great app, and my web team's actually working on it so that they make it so you can multitask while you're on that app. You can listen to the show and you can go on any other internet thing on your phone. So that is being worked on as we speak. And don't forget to sign up for my free e-newsletter, because guess what? I have one coming out this Wednesday, and I have an exciting plan I want to share with my listeners. I've been working on it for a couple of months and trying to figure out something to connect this remnant. And I think I have sort of an idea I want to share with you in the newsletter. So sign up for it. It's free. And I really find it a good way to alert you and apprise you of what's going on the program, and just if I want to send you out an e-alert. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, that's the Weekend Vigilante Facebook page, and follow me on Twitter. All my social media icons are at the top of weekendvigilante.com. Well, it is Tuesday news, and boy, there is a lot of news. Shall we start off with my favorite? We can't do a news show right now without talking about Russia. The former UK ambassador says, I met the DNC leaker, and guess what? He isn't Russian. That's right, Craig Murray calls BS Bravo Sierra on CIA claims. Well, before I get more into Russia, let's hear a little clip I put together, shall we?
What's really important about WikiLeaks is that the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, Russian espionage, Putin, the Russians, Putin, Vladimir Putin.
The Kremlin,
Russian.
Russia by the Russians.
The Russian government.
The Russian, but going back to Russia. Russia's hacked into a lot of things. The Russians. Russia.
You get this wrong.
I got it wrong.
Russia and China will pay a price.
The United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack.
And we have to send a very clear message to Putin.
It's now Hillary Clinton who wants to start an air war with Russia.
Right now, Senator, for us to control all of the airspace in Syria would require us to go to war against Syria and Russia.
Under Hillary Clinton, we could slide into nuclear war very quickly.
But going back to Russia, Putin, the Russians, Vladimir Putin.
Russia by the Russians.
The Russian government.
The Russians. The Russian government, clearly from Putin himself.
Well, there you have it. I've written out a thing that CNN and all these other clown news operations, Commie News, MSLSD, this is what they should say. Breaking news. We're now reporting that any news outlet that challenges our narrative is part of the Russian spy agency. We don't have any proof of this. We're just reporting it. I mean, it is unbelievable. I could only stomach watching about 5 minutes of CNN. I listened to a couple of liberal lemmings, of course, on Sirius XM this morning. It is absolutely frightening how mindless these people are. It's actually sad. It's not even a joke. It's actually really frightening. But you guys know that all these reports coming out about Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, come on. It's aimed at one thing, distracting the public from what the leaked emails published by WikiLeaks. Because let's not look at the content, whatever we do. Who cares really where they came from? I mean, just look at they revealed just about the Democratic corruption. Forget all the other nightmarish hell coming out of there. And it's still pouring out on these data dumps. This corruption goes up to Obama, and it goes to the very highest level of government. And guess what else? Let's not forget Pizzagate. And I'm actually working on putting a whole other angle of Pizzagate together. I've been actually investigating this whole story for about a month, and it just seems like every time I go down one rabbit hole, there's a whole other corrupt rabbit hole. So I'm thinking, how do I even get this done in one show? It's almost like it would have to be a 3-part series on it. Anyway, so back to when WikiLeaks started publishing the United States Democratic National Committee, the DNC, hacked emails, they managed to expose complete and utter corruption within the DNC, within the Democratic Party. Remember, they claimed that the DNC was working towards selecting Hillary, to the point even where they actively were working against Bernie Sanders. Well, we saw that those hacked emails proved conclusively that they were absolutely right. So we saw what happened with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who resigned in disgrace for violating their own party charter. And don't even get me started on everything else. So there was 3 of them ousted, and then the follow-up from the WikiLeaks, all the fact that Podesta was colluding. And then we have this like I said, this whole other angle with Podesta. I don't know whether to call it Pedogate or Satangate, blood sacrifice gate. How about they should all go to jail for the rest of their life gate? That's a little long-winded. But, you know, any member of the fake news, a.k.a. this mainstream media, as Steve calls them, the vomit brokers, the little liberal lemmings, the Democrats, the snowflakes, and Hillary supporters, you know what? Fill out a butthurt report and get over it. I'm actually going to create a butthurt report. What was the date of your hurtfulness? What time did this occur? What caused the butthurt? Was a tissue needed for this? Will you be able to move past this? And then I'm going to have a little box you can check off. Reason for filing the report. Here are your options. Reason for filing the report. I'm going to actually put these options. Check off the box. I'm an idiot. I'm a crybaby. I'm thin-skinned. I want my mommy. I'm a prude. Life just isn't fair. No one liked my selfies today. I mean, good gosh. You know, if my grandfather, who stormed the beaches in Normandy, if he was alive today, he would, dear God, I don't even want to think what he would do. The way that my father was raised, my dad's a real John Wayne meets Clint Eastwood type, very manly man. He still works, still alive. My dad's in his 60s. He is very active and he's very manly. This is the epitome of a manly man. And when I see these kids today, these even males that are in the 20 to 30 age group, dear God, what's happening? You know what it is? It's a lot of this anti-bullying, socialist, Marxist crap that's in the schools that's brainwashing our kids. We got Commie Core, and that's a whole other show. But I'm very glad to hear that Trump's appointment is going to get rid of Commie Core, she says. I am so excited for Donald Trump's dream team, as Mark Taylor puts it. Hey, and if you didn't listen to that show with Mark Taylor, go back and listen to that. I think it's really encouraging. And, you know, for you people that are making disgusting comments on YouTube, you know, every time I post to YouTube, it's like the donkeys, the jackals, the hyenas, boy, they just come out of the woodwork. I told Rhonda she's got full steam to just start deleting people, blocking them for life. You know, there is a way you can get blocked on my YouTube channel permanently, right? So just keep throwing on swear words. Just keep telling me how stupid my show is. You know what? If you don't like listening to my show, then beat it. Don't listen. Wow, there's a common sense concept. A lady emails me the other day, Sheila, I don't like your show. And then she lists blah, 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 why she didn't like it. I'm like, well, I have a simple solution. Don't listen to it. Wow, there's a mind-blowing, stunning revelation right there. Okay, let's jump back into the news. Of course, for the last couple weeks, we've been hearing under Barack Obama, everyone in the mainstream media claiming the WikiLeaks emails came from Russia. The MSM has grabbed that explanation with both hands and are running full force with it, we see. So while the mainstream bobbleheads are reporting this, the FBI disagrees with CIA on Russian influence in the presidential election. How absolutely embarrassing is it when you have your FBI disagreeing with CIA on Russian influence in the presidential election? Really? Your own alphabet soup agencies can't even corroborate a story. So the FBI doesn't agree with the CIA's claim that Russia had a hand in the election of President-elect Donald Trump in a meeting with lawmakers last week. Yeah, that's right. A senior FBI counterintelligence official actually met with Republican and Democrat members of the House in order to give the Bureau's view of a recent CIA report. And this FBI report didn't concur with the CIA. The Central Intelligence Agency believes Russia clearly intended to send Trump to the White House. Well, there you go, because you have so much proof. Show us the proof. Oh, right. You don't have any. You're just making a big, bold, direct, unqualified statement. That's right. What did the FBI official say? Hey, we're much less convinced. All we have to date is fuzzy and ambiguous remarks. Because I used to call them FBI, the federal bumbling idiots. Maybe I'll have to change my nickname. Very interesting article out of the Daily Mail UK. It says former UN ambassador who is in the running for a Trump cabinet role suggests that Russian hacks may have been a false flag operation set up by the Obama administration. That's right. John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, has suggested that hacking was a false flag. And he actually made this claim while speaking to Eric Shawn on Sunday on Fox News. And this is Bolton's comment. He said, "We just don't know, but I think that the intelligence community has been politicized in the Obama administration to a very significant degree." So he's basically suggesting that Russian hacking, so-called hacking, was a complete setup by our friend Bathhouse Barry. Speaking of which, this Thursday, actually, Joe Arpaio is coming out with a press conference, and I think Doug and Joe are having him on Friday, so you're going to have to bookmark Friday's show for sure. We're all going to have to be tuned into that. That's more on, of course, Bathhouse Barry's brazenly botched birth certificate. Today's show brought to you by the letter B. Well, let's jump right into this. So McCain, oh, there you go, Lindsey Graham and John McCain, the conjoined Marxist twins. What are they up to? They want to probe into Russian election hacking. Of course you do. Oh, what a pair of clowns. They're demanding that Congress investigate. Of course they do. What a pair of bumbling, ridiculous fools these two are. Does anyone ever listen to John McCain or Lindsey Graham? Oh, and there you got Chuck Schumer in there. Why am I not surprised? Did I mention that former CIA operative, when I was just talking about the CIA a minute ago, Robert Baer actually said on record, if the CIA can prove that Russia interfered with the 2016 election, then the U.S. should re-vote. Listen to what I just said. The United States should re-vote. Can someone throw this clown out of there? Talk about your paid minions. Yeah, it's Russiagate. There's a story headline, hey? We know this week that Obama's actually ordered intelligence agencies to review alleged Russian hacks. I wonder where he's getting his marching orders from. Well, speaking of psychopaths, a new study in America finds that 1 in 6 Americans take psychotropic drugs of some sort, whether it's psychiatric, antidepressant, anti-anxiety. Those are usually the most common. Yeah, 1 in 6 adults take pharmakia medication to cope with conditions such as depression, anxiety, and insomnia. The list goes on. A new study finds, well, they didn't have to do a new study for me to tell you that. These drugs have such serious withdrawal effects. I had a lady come off a Paxil that wanted to commit suicide. Get that. And so, folks, if you're on something like this, you need to talk to somebody about weaning off and getting on some natural supplements. This is what I've seen a lot of times is depression, especially seasonal affective disorder that comes around this time of year. And of course, with Christmas, very high rate of suicide this time of year. You know what? Sometimes it just is as simple as you need a lot more vitamin D, like D3, taking 10,000 units, say, of it. You'd be surprised at how making a few little food changes in your diet and a few little supplements and vitamins will make a world of difference. Well, I don't know if you heard this story, but I got to report this because I found this story and I was stunned on Catholic.org calling SHEILA ZILINSKY green gospel. Listen to this, folks. Again, this is Catholic.org. They've got it right on their website. The Catholic Church is intimately concerned about climate change, and new priests are going to learn about global warming as part of the Vatican's Pontifical Academy. And the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, just so people know, is the world's oldest, longest-running scientific mission. And they actually advise Pope Francis, the one world Pope there, he gets his advice from that Pontifical Academy of Sciences, which, by the way, John Schnellhuber's head of that. Just throw in that in a search bar. Pope's Science Advisor, Depopulationist. Yeah, he told a crowd in New York, and I actually document this in my book, Green Gospel. Why is the Pope aligning himself with a pantheist and a depopulationist who said on records, this is not SHEILA, this is New York Times, he said, yeah, you know what? The holding capacity of the earth, it's about a billion. Well, like I always ask, what are they going to do with those other 6 billion pesky humans? And guess what? By the way, just throwing this in there, CO2, what you exhale, has nothing to do with heat. CO2 has no correlation with the temperature. Were you aware of that? And in fact, it works the other way around. When temperature goes up, CO2 goes up, not the other way around. The United Nations is trying to tell you, because you exhale that deadly pollutant CO2. No, CO2 is a God-given necessary byproduct. It's a vital trace gas for human life, and we need more of it, actually. This is what's being taught to these new up-and-coming priests, a full curriculum on how the Catholic Church needs to lead the charge on the green gospel. Mandatory green gospel training. You gotta love that. And shameless plug, if you don't have my book, Green Gospel, get it at greengospel.ca. I don't think there's ever been a time when my book was more relevant, especially what the United Nations is doing behind Donald Trump's back, the EPA. They're all plotting and scheming. It's unbelievable. I am so glad to hear what Donald Trump stole one of my lines. Let's take a listen.
Do you believe in global warming, climate change? Do you think the world's going to change for the worse because it's getting warmer?
I think that there'll be little change here. It'll go up. It'll get a little cooler. It'll get a little warmer like it always has for millions of years. It'll get cooler. It'll get warmer. It's called weather. But I don't believe that what they say. I think it's a big scam for a lot of people to make a lot of money.
Donald, my man, that was awesome. It's weather. You guys know I've been saying that for years. Oh, I love it. Environmentalism is the fastest growing religion on the planet. And it is alarming how many university students are running around saving the planet. This information needs to get out there. So back to the news. Let's go back to the headlines. Wow. And there are so many to contend with. This is a really big story. On the whitehouse.gov, there's a presidential memorandum, steps for increased legal and policy transparency concerning the United States' use of military force and related national security operations. There's a mouthful. What he's really saying there is we want to know right now who's going to be a problem. You remember a few years ago when he was trying to purge members of the military at the highest levels? I did a lot of shows on that back in 2012 and 2013. You can bet he's up to something. Boy, look what's going on with these Muslims in Germany. There's actually a very chilling map that Pamela Geller has on her website. It says, chilling, a map of Germany obliterated by all the pins marking Muslim migrant sex attacks. Yeah, that's right. Remember what Steve Quayle calls it? Rape-ageddon? Angela Merkel, that devilish Jezebel, she has got the blood of every German woman and girl on her filthy hands. And she's got the unmitigated gall to even be running for re-election. Really? Really, Angela, you Hitler in a skirt? This woman is just disgusting. I could do a whole show on how evil this woman is. Hey, good job, by the way, to the Daily Sheeple. Richard Cottrell, great article there. It's called UK Government Brings in Full Press Censorship, Pledges Death to the Internet. And do you know, while all this Russian cyber attacking was going on and we are being swayed by all these new headlines, did you know the Senate quietly passed the Countering Disinformation and Propaganda Act? While everybody's sipping eggnog over the holidays, Obama is going to try to get this passed. That's H.R. 6393, the Countering Disinformation and Propaganda Act. Well, welcome to Stasi-style censorship, brought to you by Barry Soetoro. And what does it seek to do? Well, we got to crack down on websites suspected of conducting Russian propaganda and calling for the U.S. government to counter active measures by Russia to exert covert influence. Absolutely stunning. You got to remember that I reported back in early June a bill to implement the United States' very own de facto Ministry of Truth, essentially. I already talked about a bill that they tried to pass last year. That was Bill 5181. It sought a whole government approach without bureaucratic restrictions to counter foreign disinformation, they called it. There you go. Foreign disinformation and manipulation. That was last time. Ted Lieu also tried to slide that in. That's H.R. 5181, seeking, again, listen to this, foreign disinformation and manipulation, I quote. This one that we're dealing with, they want to quietly pass, is called the Countering Disinformation and Propaganda. The old one is called Foreign Disinformation and Manipulation. Pretty much just a glorified rehash of that one. So what are they trying to do? They essentially want Soviet-style complete censorship on steroids. That's what they want. They want to shut down these fake news sites like Alex Jones, SHEILA ZILINSKY, Doug Hagman, especially the ones that are very Christian conservative, like SHEILA ZILINSKY, Hagman's, True News, that have a real content of Christianity. Yeah, good luck finding that. Well, we do know one thing. Military operation in eastern Aleppo is over and the government is restoring control. So we're being told that essentially ISIS militants are leaving Aleppo in droves. It looks like the Syrian government has regained control over its territory after the withdrawal of all these militants from the city. Spokesperson Churkin told the United Nations Security Council in New York, well, we can't trust those guys as far as we can throw them, but he says military operations in eastern Aleppo have concluded. They indeed have an arrangement achieved on the ground that the fighters are going to leave the city. That's what Churkin said Tuesday ahead of the emergency UN Security Council meeting in New York City. How believable is it? Do we really know what's going on there? Well, we know the rumblings in that area. We know the division, between the government forces and the militants. That's been going on, that Syrian conflict, since 2011. Well, my favorite friend is in the headline, Nancy Botox degenerate Pelosi. Well, her daughter is leading the efforts to rob Trump's electoral votes. Of course she is. That's right. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi's daughter Christine is leading the effort to steal electoral college votes from Donald Trump over what? It couldn't be accusations of Russian hacking, could it? Not the ones by the CIA, could it? Oh, yes, it could. Yeah, there you go. The Hamilton electors, a rogue group determined to stop Trump's victory at all cost. It just goes on and on, doesn't it? The fun never ends when the media is controlled by 6 corporations. You ought to look into that sometime. All your print and news media, do you know, is owned by 6 corporations that are actually all owned by 2. That right there is amazing. That's right. Everything you see on TV, in print, in a magazine, yeah, even on your grocery stand, well, guess what? It's bought and paid for by the globalist. And why do you think all the local ma little newspaper printing press operations are getting bought up lock, stock, and barrel? Guess what? It's happening all across Canada and the U.S. I could go on and on with the news, but you know what? You know what the good news is? God is on the throne. God says that he laughs at the plans of the wicked. God is sovereign and God's in control and God knows what's going on and he sees all this evil. And don't ever forget that none of these shysters are going to get by God, not for a minute. Because you know what? I know we're getting inundated with all this garbage, just Bravo Sierra, and that's code word for BS. You know that. But I want to tell you something that I think is really exciting. In all of this insanity, guess what? This is what Jesus says in Matthew. And Jesus answered them and said, this is so encouraging to you today. Verily I say unto you, in other words, listen up. If you have faith and you don't doubt, you will not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if you shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things, he didn't say a few things there, some things, well, anything that doesn't have to do with Trump. And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive it. Either we believe the word of God or we don't. God gave us promises. God doesn't break his promises. God knows what's going on. What else did God promise us? Behold, I give unto you the power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. And what else? And nothing shall by any means hurt you. Listen, if you're listening out there today and you are just looking at the insanity of the world, yeah, you know what? The enemy is pulling all sorts of shenanigans, chicanery. But guess what? He gave us power to tread on serpents and scorpions. Do a word study on what that actually means. That means you have the ability to exercise your authority and say, you know what, devil? I'm not going to get distracted by these headlines of today. I'm not going to get into the fear, the doom and gloom. And here's that real kernel of promise that lies in the last word there. Nothing shall by any means hurt you. You know what? That ties into what it says in Romans 8. Nothing shall separate us from the love of God, and all things work together for good to those who love him. You know what? God keeps his promises. So no matter what's going on with you this week, just know that God loves you and nothing can separate you from his love. If God should be for us, who shall be against us? I just want to encourage you today. And I thank you for listening to the broadcast. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night and God bless.